Welcome to Chalk Talk, a weekly preview of West Tennessee football featuring the Jackson Sun sports team here on JacksonSun.com.
Hi everybody, welcome to the second playoff week edition of the high school football Chalk Talk here at JacksonSun.com. My name is Craig Thomas. This is the sports editor and high school football beat writer Brandon Shields. Several games we're going to talk about here as we go into the second week of the TSSAA playoffs. The first one's a big one right here in the city of Jackson as Trinity Christian Academy comes off that bye and plays a Trenton Peabody team that beat Huntington in the first round. What sort of things should we look for when Trinity hosts Peabody?
Yeah, Peabody didn't come out great in that game. You were at the game last week against Huntington, and they fell down, 21-7?
21-6, I believe, something like that.
Yeah, by halftime, I think they cut it to 21-14, and they pretty much took over in the second half and played the way Peabody can play. And if the Peabody that plays in the second half of that game plays against TSSAA, it's going to be another classic like the one that I saw last year in this round between these two programs at TSSAA. I mean, it's pretty much going to be the same situation all over again. The only difference is TSSAA is a little more injured coming into this game than what they were last year. I mean, Kyle Lake and Andrew Goldsmith, I'll be shocked if they don't play this week. But Andrew hadn't played I think since week 8. Kyle's played, but every time he plays on Friday night, on Saturday, he shows up at another school event either on crutches or in a boot. But he's had 2 weeks off. Andrew's had nearly a month off, I guess. So it's the playoffs. Playoffs. They're back, and I think they'll be back playing. Whereas Peabody's defense is missing some players. Rico Buchanan didn't play last week against Huntington. He got hurt the week before against Humboldt. I think that may have been partly what affected them early on, was adjusting to his absence. But since they have adjusted, maybe they're a little more comfortable coming into this game. The only difference is Huntington's offense and TSSAA's offense aren't the same thing.
Not at all. Yeah, definitely could be a shootout like last year if everybody's pretty healthy and playing the kind of football they're capable of.
Sure.
Moving a little bit outside of Jackson, up 4-12 to Alamo, Crockett County, the still unbeaten Cavaliers have a test against Jackson Northside, which escaped last week in Henderson against a good Chester County team. Crockett County's continued rolling over everybody, a big, easy win over all Egypt in the first round. What does Northside have to do to stay competitive in this game?
Break Johnny Jones's legs?
Well, hopefully not.
Yeah, I mean, no, they're not going to do that.
Within the game plan, what can the Indians do to stay here?
Well, I mean, just playing some sound defense, playing good, sound, fundamental defense, not letting Johnny break away like he usually does. Lexington did a good job of it in the first quarter in week 9, in which no team got a first down in the first quarter. But then in the second quarter, all of a sudden, Johnny figures out what he's got to do, or the offensive line starts working a little better. So something happened, and Johnny goes off for 4 touchdowns in the second quarter alone. Northside's got to avoid that situation. And if they can do that, force a couple of punts, get the ball, maybe Red Shaw and his group on offense, Darius Wilson, he'll be back this week at running back. If they can move the ball consistently, keep Crockett's offense off the field, keep Johnny Jones off the field, wear down that defense a little bit, they might have a shot. I don't know if it's going to happen, but that's got to be the strategy they got to go with to try to be successful.
Yeah, and to be fair, Northside has had a decent offense this year. It's just the Crockett County.
Yeah, they're coming in at 10-1.
Right, yeah. Crockett County has kind of been a different level, it seems like.
Saying you want to stop Johnny Jones and actually stopping Johnny Jones is two totally different things.
Right.
Johnny Jones has run for a lot of touchdowns and some pretty good defenses this year. And it may not have been a good defense he played last week, but 7 touchdowns in 1/2 is a pretty awesome feat.
That is a real test for the Indian defense against Crockett County. Talking about good running backs, we mentioned Johnny Jones. The Camden-Milan game is going to have a good running back in Deshaun Brown for the Camden Lions. They host the Milan Bulldogs, who are back in the playoffs after missing it last year. Milan-Camden, your thoughts on kind of what you expect out of this game?
Actually, I would argue I think there's 2 good running backs in this game. Isaiah Ross didn't have the numbers like a Deshaun Brown or a Johnny Jones has, because it wasn't until after Marshall Harrison broke his leg in week 4 that Milan really committed to running the ball, more accustomed to what we're used to seeing Milan doing. But since he has, I think he's got 5 maybe 6 straight 100-yard games, which is, Deshaun and Johnny are getting 200-yard games, but it's, he's still being pretty consistent there. Two good defenses though that obviously work against good ground games in practice every week. So I'm expecting this one to be kind of like how their quarterfinal game was a few years ago. I think in 2010, Camden went undefeated all the way up until the quarterfinals, and Milan came in, I think, with one loss that year, and they met in Camden, and Milan won 10-7. And it was one of their trips to. That may have been the year they went to the state semifinals. It was a rebuilding year for Milan that year, but I'm kind of expecting that kind of game to go on here. But who knows? We could easily see Ross and Brown break out for a couple of long runs, and we could see this one become a shootout. Maybe someone might score 21 points.
Yeah, interesting. We'll see. Riverside, the Panthers had a game against Forest last week in the first round, team that they had seen in the playoffs the year before. Now they get a team that they know even better than Forest, and Adamsville, a team they know is seemingly all sports. It seems like not too far away, real involved with each other. Riverside and Adamsville playing here in the second round. Adamsville got farther than any of the teams within our coverage area last year,
right.
Getting the state finals. What does Riverside have to do to stay with the Cardinals, who have been so good all year?
Well, Adamsville needs 2 more wins to make to their 4th straight semifinal game, which is a pretty stout run.
Really? Really stout.
But I don't know. Riverside, they played Adamsville, and they didn't have a good start against Adamsville earlier in the season. I think it was week 4 they played each other, and Adamsville won by, I think, 4, maybe 5 touchdowns in that game. So Riverside's obviously wanting a better performance in this game. The way you got to do that is, excuse me, the way you got to do that is just use your strengths, which is what they did last week. Which that one strength was their offensive line. I'm not sure how much of a strength it'll be against Adamsville, but it's definitely something that helped them last week. That allowed 3 different backs to have 100 yards rushing, and allowed Drake Smith to have a good night passing with a couple touchdown passes. But as long as they can continue to get that kind of production and continue to have that line play against Adamsville, which you got to think that with the playoffs, with it being a big rival, they're going to come out motivated to have that kind of performance, that they could be pretty successful.
All right, so those are definitely some games we'll be keeping an eye on. Let's just real quickly run down some of the others within our coverage here. See, Hardin County will be at Ridgeway, right? Scottsdale will be at Mount Pleasant. Who else we got?
We got Carver at McKenzie.
That's right.
That's 7 games. Yes. Carver, McKenzie, Lake County at Brewston, and Dresden at Union City. All
right, so those are the games to keep an eye on for folks in West Tennessee. We'll have updates on all these games, particularly ones real close to our area, but you get that Jackson Sun, you can glance at all this and the stuff around the state as we head toward week 3 of the playoffs, when stuff gets really serious and we start seeing who the best teams in the state really are. Hope you've been following the coverage throughout this week. Make sure to get that paper Friday for the Blitz section. Stats, some of the leaders in those categories as well. Friday night we'll have writers, photographers at several of these games. Hopefully get some video for you online at jacksonsun.com. If you want to check that website frequently throughout the night, we'll have score updates and then game stories, game recaps as we go along. Saturday morning, the print edition of the Jackson Sun, really a great crunch section, several pages of basically just devoted to high school football coverage, and that's this time of year definitely something I think a lot of people will be interested in. On social media, follow him at JS Editor Brandon. He'll have some score updates there. Like us on Facebook at Jackson Sun Sports as well. We hope you've had a great week, and we hope you're looking forward to the second week as much as we are, and we hope to see you out there. Have a great day.
See you.